TKO Talk.
For me, so far, so good with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, promoted by Dana White in lieu of Zuffa Boxing and Riyadh Season. The first Netflix press conference I thought was pretty slick. The way the conference was set, the lighting, the arrangement, and production overall, how Dana was in the middle, microphones, logo placement, everything looked slick. Countryman flags with mood lighting to match, all in sync. Canelo and Crawford out there clean as a chip, and Canelo starting off early in the trash talk. This version of Canelo reminds me of like some cartoon character, but not like, oh, he's a joke, but the way he sometimes will talk about himself in third person and how his accent and his progress in speaking English makes a certain sentence or insult sound a funny and entertaining way. It's like he knows the lingo of the youth of the world, but how he uses it and says it is a certain swagger that doesn't have him putting off unk energy. Terence Crawford wasn't backing down whatsoever. Much more mellow guy though than Canelo. Canelo's a little bit churned up these days for some reason. Got a little chip on his shoulder, probably all the accusations of ducking Benavidez. But I mean, the internet is going to internet. It is, for me, I don't know about the rest of the world. If you hate it, let me know. But I like Max Kellerman being there. Good to see him. It's really cool to see John Anik sprinkled in there. The introduction, John Anik was very modest and held back quite a bit, letting Max do most of the work, which it does make sense, but I do know Anik knows more than what he was leading on there, but he did a great job, and hearing his voice is just familiar, what the UFC side of TKO wants. And TKO to a certain extent too, but when you get to the other companies, you know, there's going to be a difference of opinions and the way things are done have to be done a certain way, etc. This feels very big. Obviously, they did capture the initial energy that I felt when the fight was announced. Tad deflated when it was like, Dana's not gonna promote it. I know some of y'all out there think Dana doesn't know what's happening here and this is gonna be a clown shoe of an event. I disagree. One of us is gonna be right, and you know, if it's something important to you to be like, oh, see, I told you, I called it, then right on. I think this event is going to be epic and awesome, and it's gonna have all kinds of bells and whistles to really make this thing pop off. So much so it might even come to where Noche feels like an afterthought. Now hardcores will disagree with that. I mean, of course, but I'm talking about people, the cash, you know, the cash. So far, the media isn't doing too bad. Couple of dumb questions there. Someone asked Canelo about if he still had beef with Dana for making him lay down for the BMF fight with Nate and Jorge. That was blown off by both of them. Someone tried to get political with Canelo. Canelo wisely said, go fuck yourself. Not literally, but move on. I think Crawford is thickening up a little bit. At least that's what he looked like to me. Max Kellerman and John Anik, one of them brought up size between the two, and I do agree with whoever said it, can't remember now, but the frame of Canelo, the skeleton, is just built, it's built huskier, so to speak, than Terence Crawford. Completely agree with it. Anik got to talking about Canelo stats, and it did get UFC-ish then big time when the AR popped up on the screen showing Canelo and the flag and his stats and everything, and then a few minutes later Terence Crawford popped up on the screen, but more not AR, but the traditional flat matte gray with white font, slight 0x0y drop shadow around the white lettering, showing his stats with his arms crossed. Typical UFC stuff, and that's not a negative for me. I do want to see them try something new, and I think they will, of course. Dude, as this gets closer, there's going to be new touches to it and new visuals and production presentations, and it's just the beginning. Dana White and Turkey have teams, bro, that they're just legions of people that know what they're doing when it comes to this shit, and that's what makes it exciting. And that's why, in my opinion, this is going to pop off without a hitch.
He learned from his cousin. In fact, he didn't even have his own flat, just begging for money, picking pockets by the dozen. Now his mama living with him, he addicted to venom, an enemy living in him, no energy of in him, and nobody got his back.
Looks like Brian Ortega and Aljamain Sterling are gonna fight in Shanghai. Guess that's an okay fight. I'm not really motivated by it because I don't feel that Ortega is at all interested in fighting for gold or aspiring to be the best in the world. I think he's completely checked out and may want to do some kind of celebrity combat sports for a higher payment or something. He didn't even care about the last fight. Why would you even bother paying attention to him for this fight? As far as Aljamain goes, I don't know what it is about Aljamain. Maybe it was the interviews and the things he said during his title reign, but he isn't somebody that thrills me as far as hype goes. I'm not fond of his personality or posts on X, and I can't stand his mixtape or album, whatever you want to call it. I am a far, far better rapper than Aljamain. How he is a far, far better professional fighter than me, I am a far, far better rapper than him. Not that I made much money from it. I think it's important that Aljamain gets this victory. If somehow Ortega is able to fall into a W here, I think that's an overall L for the division. Whatever marketability Ortega had a few years back, it's not the same now, and I think he's a big reason for it. No matter what the reason is that he has pulled back as far as his intensity and effort into learning and being a better MMA fighter, it just seems like it's not there anymore.
It'll all be over soon. Life eats life. Your gods will die with the rest of humanity. And you think you can be the one to judge me.
There is a new Street Fighter movie that is on the way. I am a big fighting game fan. Street Fighter obviously is one of the pillars of that fandom. Even looking back, watching it now, the Street Fighter movie with Van Damme and Raul Julia to me is a good time. It's a hoot. I would like to see something a little more serious in the Street Fighter universe that is live action, along the lines of one of the animes, but I'm not so sure about getting that. I will say Andrew Schultz as Dan, physically speaking, is a pretty damn good casting choice. And I can't think of a better person on the planet to be Guile in Street Fighter than Cody Rhodes. But one of my favorite fighting game characters is Akuma, and not one of them. He is the number one for me. With Roman Reigns being cast as him, I do have some concerns. I don't know how good Roman's gonna be in this type of role, or how big of a role the character Akuma is gonna play in the overall story for the new Street Fighter movie, but what I can say is that I hope he doesn't look like this AI generated picture that I'm assuming was made by Fadeaway Media, because this would be comically bad. But even this little AI generative picture of Guile looks pretty good for Cody Rhodes. Still, I think license should be required to use generative AI for things like this, because this Roman is abysmal and it shouldn't exist.
Have the Bella twins, banana hammock, smiley.
I believe it was Night of Champions, Jade Cargill came out in this suit, and I mean, I suppose it's a cool suit, but it looks like Halloween City Storm, and I'm not trying to even be insulting to Jade. Obviously, she didn't design it, but to actually put these cringy tweets up really bothers me, because I'm a big X-Men fan, and she doesn't look like Storm. She does not look like Storm. If the intent of this was to be, oh, it's inspired by Storm, it feels like they didn't even look at a design. They just did it from like their mind, you know what I mean? The plated abs was a bad touch, and that waist thing that's supposed to be a belt or lightning bolts on the hips, that's not good. And putting white contacts on her, bro, is not good look at all. She looks more like Hobson. She looks more like Hobson with those white contacts in. To all my darker complected sisters, these light contacts don't work. They don't. Stop doing it. But I just mean, like, these are grown-ups, bro. This is the type of shit that makes me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan, because to call Jade Cargill the real-life Storm is just cringe. It's okay to be a fan of her, like, that's not even what it's about. To call her the real-life Storm and put in quotations is just, it's not even a good troll. And to say in all caps Jade Cargill with the Storm outfit goes so hard, bro, grow up. It doesn't go hard, and it doesn't even look like Storm. You can't even say, oh, it's a good rendition. These fools, maybe not these accounts, but these fools online on X, when Rhea Ripley was dressed up as something, looked more like a ring wraith from Lord of the Rings. They pinned it to the Batman book, the one who sleeps or who doesn't laugh or who laughs. I can't remember what it is. I have the book That's not what it was, or if it was a very lame attempt. But I do wish the engagement farming, 14,000 likes for that, dude, goes so hard. It doesn't. It looked very cheap. It looked cheap. I'm sorry, guys. If you guys thought that goes so hard, you don't know what a good costume is. You need to look around and go into some pro level cosplay or something. Terrible. I'm not sure if I covered this post or not, but I'm going to right now. Someone posted and asking, can someone please educate me on what the Bellas did to improve the women's division in wrestling? In ring, not much. Maybe some creative twin magic type of moves in the beginning. But more than that, pushing the women's division into the mainstream. The Bellas were a big part of that. They're still a big part of that. They are a tool for women's wrestling to even further expand into mainstream. The Bella twins, much like Kardashians or what have you, Paris Hiltons, became a part of pop culture, except they were also wrestlers. No matter how you look at the Bellas or what Nikki did to pave the way or whatever, yes, there was something they definitely did to improve women's pro wrestling. They were a part of the improvement of that, and that cannot be taken away from them. But at the same time, to say that Nikki paved the way for women or women's wrestling is, I'm trying to be as nice as I can about this, but you are telling on yourself by trying to say Nikki Bella paved the way for women in pro wrestling. You either are a new fan, meaning younger, or you're just trying to farm for engagement. And I see these kinds of posts that, like this one on the screen all the time, but this one I felt like I'd respond to because it's kind of wild, right? One person has a problem that Nikki Bella's in the Hall of Fame. I don't care about that. This person's response was that she paved the way for women and Roman paved the way for 5 question marks. I'm just like, dude, who brought up Roman to begin with? And I don't understand what the point of that is. How does that support an answer to the question this person has? And again, Nikki didn't pave the way for women. What she did, along with her sister and the likes of Trish Stratus and Mickie James, Michelle McCool, Layla, they broke down barriers during the Divas era. That's what they did. There was a contribution, but paving the way for women's wrestling is, I have a hard time like pinning this to Nikki Bella. I don't understand where this meta came from, but it's not accurate. Being a heel would be a much better choice for this type of story arc. This return is not gonna work as good old Nikki with the hat on and being as divisive as she is when it comes to what fans of the WWE universe have to say or what they're posting. Doing these promos that are just like, I am back, and it's not working and it's gonna fall flat. This is not who anyone is looking up to or tuning in to see, and here is another gem from Nikki Bella furthering divisiveness between men and women for no reason at all other than being unable to take criticism and respond with honesty. I think when you're a woman and you know your worth, they have to find something to hate because they can't stand that you're so comfortable in your skin. And this is her talking about online hate, and this is a bigger problem than her. I really do wish a lot of other people across the board of a lot of things, not just combat sports and professional wrestling or corporate CEOs, like everybody, I wish everybody would just take criticism a little bit better. You know, the problem with the WWE and the UFC or MMA and pro wrestling in general, being a fan and trying to be a critic, it's nearly impossible at this point to like give a unpopular opinion, even if you're nice about it, because none of it is absorbed. 99% of it isn't absorbed. Like this, Nikki thinks she's getting online hate because we have became aware that she knows what she's worth and she's confident and that she's comfortable in who she is, and because of that there's a problem that we have to find. It could just be that Nikki Bella isn't needed to improve or further whatever's going on in the women's division. It could just be that some people are not fans of Nikki Bella. It could just be that some people don't think she's good in ring, or she's good on the mic, or all of the above, or any combination of it. But none of these these can be addressed. And that's why I feel like, you shouldn't even interview pro wrestlers, because any of this, you can't tell if it's real or not. I'm telling you, in my opinion, this is a real thing for Nikki. She is determined to make sure that she gets some respect on her name for in-ring and storyline. But I'm telling you right now, if she doesn't go heel and do something brutal, nothing's gonna come of this for her, even if they put a belt on her, which would be worthless if it's backwards hat, I'm here, Nikki, and always talking about how dumb men are. I really think it's gonna benefit Nikki to back that up a little bit. Maybe not back it up. She doesn't have to apologize for anything. She doesn't owe us anything, but she can tone it down so more fans are willing to give her a chance, as opposed to booing her as soon as she comes out, because she already insulted half the audience, 80% of the audience.
Why do you motherfuckers come to the bank? Like, I have a serious fucking question. Why do you come to the bank when you know you don't have any money? I'm rich as fuck. I got 97 Bitcoin.
Okay.
Fuck. Do you speak cryptocurrency? Do you know what stocks is? Do you have real estate? You got paper money, you stupid fucking broke piece of shit. Nigga thinks he's gangster because he got $100 bills in his pocket.
I actually do follow this account, but I find this unacceptable, so I did want to talk about it. They just put this post up that says Charlotte Flair tops list of wrestlers that are said to receive the most online abuse from fans. First off, tops what list? It's a made-up list of no authenticity other than this outlet, okay? And secondly, online abuse is a little bit strong, and I think that should be changed for sure. Charlotte doesn't get abused in the way others do. The negativity of Charlotte, the majority of the negativity of Charlotte, I should say, comes from her being plugged right into main story title match from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, barely doing anything in between. Of course, wrestling in Barcelona against B-Fab, however, always her entire career being a snoot to the fans and trying to come back and kiss up and say, I missed you guys. It was fraudulent, see-through, and forced, and the fans didn't want it. And that's hardly abuse. Off the top of my head, without even trying, I would say somebody that would take more online abuse than Charlotte Flair is someone not even in WWE anymore, Ricochet.
We're just gonna take our pasta and put it in the pot. What we're gonna do is, if you just wait 5 seconds, it's gonna soften. Sometimes you gotta help it along a little bit, and you always want to keep track of which side was sticking out, because at the end we're gonna compensate. I remember when I was a kid growing up, my friend Justin and I wanted to make a roller coaster, so we started saving money by putting our lunch money in a shoebox. And after about 6 months, we had a couple $100 in there, but it turns out that my friend Justin's sister's boyfriend had found the shoebox and he stole the money to pay for an abortion. Okay, this is looking just about ready.
Merab and Corey Sandhagen are going to go at it UFC 320 T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, and I am very excited about this fight. I like the pace of the turnaround for Merab. I think he's eager and ready to prove himself even further, and he may not talk a lot about it, but that rematch with Sean O'Malley might not have been his favorite idea. This is a fresh matchup for him, and Corey's going to present some novel offensive strategies that Merab is going to have to work through if he plans on keeping that belt. I can very well see Corey taking this. That would be impressive. What would it mean for Corey Sandhagen to knock out Merab, say with the knee, or a right hook or like an elbow spin or some shit? For Merab himself, it's just another piece of evidence that he is undeniable. I think the person to solve Merab, the machine, is gonna be the person that masters the distance game with him. But what's so intriguing about that, because to some people that might be obvious, but what's so intriguing about that is what that looks like upon success. What does a successful distance mastering game look like in the octagon against Merab that causes him to lose the belt? I think Corey Sandhagen can figure that out. In fact, I believe him and his team probably have a good idea on how to go about it. The question is, can he execute it? Raquel Pennington and Norma Dumont will be facing off September 13th in San Antonio at Noche 3. So Rocky is finally getting to fight in a Mexican-themed card, being half Mexican. Love to see it. This is a good fight and a little bit of a surprise for me, as I wasn't sure if Raquel was going to come back anytime soon. Maybe wait till the end of this year, or even early next year, or even in the summer next year, and take some kind of fight and just wait off. When I last talked to her, she said that she would be interested in kind of taking 1 or 2 more. Now, her and Tesha Torres definitely want to expand family and go on from there. You know, they like to be in the outdoors, they like to be in the private space and private life. However, the thing is, man, I keep feeling competitive energy from them, especially Tisha lately. This is pretty awesome of Raquel to do, and I think a little bit more respect is owed to her. I do find her much more likely to get to a title fight than Juliana Pena. However, I guess that's gonna depend on what happens here, and also how strong of a babyface turn Juliana Pena can make. I don't think it matters who wins between Amanda and Kayla. There's also the possibility that Amanda and Kayla fight at 145, you know, and they're still doing Kayla as the bantamweight champion. Would they rematch Juliana Pena in that case to her, calling dibs and whatnot? This could be a #1 contender fight if there's a 145 opening for Kayla and Amanda. A lot of things come to my mind about that if that's the case though. Would Kayla move back down to 135? And if Amanda and Kayla were to fight at 145, maybe it's for a open vacant belt, but the 135 is on ice. So potentially could be a #1 contender fight, right? However, would Kayla be willing or able to go back down to 135 after fighting later on this year or next at 145? This is why I think the Amanda Nunes Kayla fight has to be at 135. Because you're going to have people waiting in the wings. And Raquel Pennington, the winner between Raquel Pennington and Norma Dumont would be the one that would deserve that. Especially if Kayla Harrison was the one to win. If Amanda wins the bantamweight title, it's pretty undeniable that Juliana Pena is going to get that next shot, because that trilogy is likely the only thing Amanda would be interested in to stick around for. I don't think she wants to fight Raquel Pennington again, and I don't think Norma Dumont is on her radar either. When I spoke to Raquel back then, last March, she also said she wasn't really interested in fighting Amanda because of how good of friends they all became, her, Nina, Tisha, Amanda, and the family and whatnot. So you do gotta kind of wonder, is Raquel fighting for a path back to gold? Because we know Norma, no matter what, she's gonna be looking for that opportunity at gold. Even if Amanda and Kayla fought at 145, Norma has fought 145 very recently under the UFC banner before the division was closed. And if she beats Raquel, the math is right there. As far as the Venezuelan Vixen goes, I think she needs to pay close attention to this fight, as if it's impressive in either direction, she's out. And like I said, I know people are going to say, oh no, not Pena, another title shot. I don't make the fights. So Jocelyn Edwards is going to fight Priscilla Cachoeira at UFC Vegas 109 August 9th. That means Mayra Bueno Silva is out. So to recap, Mayra got her drum busted by Raquel Pennington. She moved down in weight, lost a fight to Jazz Devicius, and then she tried to move back up in bantamweight, with a ranked position by the way, to fight Jocelyn Edwards. Now, I believe this fight was probably put together to give Jocelyn Edwards a little momentum, but Mayra Bueno Silva should not be anywhere near the top 15 of any division in the UFC. She certainly should not be at number 8, given what has gone on. Yana Santos should be ranked above Mayra Bueno Silva. I do think Cachoeira probably gonna take it. Jocelyn Edwards does look good. She looked good in her last fight, I'm not gonna front. But I think it's Priscilla's to take.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfucker.